Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast.
I have a question for you around stress, because can it really lead to more success or distress? Okay, so here's my question for you. We've got three women. One heads up a very large corporation, but because of some changes in the buying economy, she has to make a very tough decision about her employees as far as slashing benefits, slashing pay. She might even have to slash jobs. So look at her stress level and how many people are dependent upon her. Then we want to compare her against what's known as a solopreneur, somebody who's in business for themselves and it's just them. But because it's just them, they have to wear all the hats. So she's the service provider. She also has to be the IT person, the marketing guru, as well as the admin. So she's got all her clients who are relying on her to fulfill all of these different areas of expertise. Look at the stress she's under. And now we're going to compare it to the mom who chose to stay at home with her kids. And because of that, she had to give up some of the things that she's passionate about, because maybe she just doesn't have the income to be able to do it. She also had to give up her engagement with other adults. And all she's doing is around kids and their conversations. And I think that might be a description of hell for me. Okay, so out of those three, because her kids are so dependent on her as far as the engagement that they're going to need to be healthy, functioning adults. So we have the corporate leader, we have the solopreneur, and we have the stay-at-home mom. Which one's more stressed? Angie.
Definitely the solopreneur. No, I'm just teasing. Because that would be me. But no, it would really just depend on what's going on and how they are perceiving their reality. If how they're processing the experience of stress would determine that.
That's it exactly. It is up to our individual perception and the context of what's going on around us. It's interesting, at least in our city, Angie, if you were to ask a firefighter from the city or a police officer from the city who's more stressed, the firefighter will say they are, because when they get a call, they know that it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the police are saying, well, it's our job. It's not that every time we get a call, because maybe it's just a call for an unruly neighbor that needs to be calmed down. It's not going to be a life or death situation. But every time that we get a call, we never know what we're walking into. Firefighters in our city typically spend 24 hours in 1 year fighting fires. That's it, 24 hours. Now,
wow,
it's going to be in 1 year, but it's going to be spaced out, okay? And they've always got to be at the ready, where the police can spend 24 hours on a homicide, but yet they've got all these other calls. So it's simply the context of the person who's experiencing it and their perception. So it's not the stress that we're under.
Right.
It's what we do with the stress. It's how we regulate it, how we regulate our emotions to first stabilize ourselves And then after we know that we're secure, then we're like, okay, what do I need to do to maintain this? How can I be stable even when I get triggered? And then after that, how to actually use the stress to accelerate our performance.
Just a question. With the firefighters, did you say that was 24 hours actually in 1 year? Okay, I just want to make sure I got that little stat right, because it's very interesting. It reminds me of a couple of things, but
yeah, 24 hours. Now, they may spend additional time at the scene cleaning up afterwards and things like that.
right.
But it is only 24 hours that they spend in actually fighting a fire.
Right.
So what happens when we realize that we're stressed is something that Angie and I are very familiar with. And it's what's known as amplification by realization. It's actually something that's experienced in a hypnosis session, that as soon as somebody realizes that they're in hypnosis, that feel-good state actually amplifies.
Mm-hmm.
We experience that in other areas. When you're happy and you realize you're happy, you actually have more happiness. And if you're pissed and you realize you're pissed, you get enraged.
Yeah. It's like the kid that falls down the stairs and realizes when they see their mom crying, like she's really upset, and then they start crying, kind of that thing.
That is it. Exactly. I remember when my boys would fall down when they were younger, and I'd like, pick up your brains, put them back in your head, and get back out there and play. Yes, because we will, when we don't know how we should feel, we will look to those in authority around us to tell us how we should be feeling.
Sorry.
So, amplification by realization. Angie and I both do something when our clients are in hypnosis for them to realize what level of hypnosis they're in, because we know as soon as that happens, they're actually going to amplify that feel-good state. So when you're stressed and you realize you're stressed, you're going to amplify it. But there are two types of stress. I know, Angie, you brought one of them up earlier.
Eustress.
And how do you spell that?
It's EUS, isn't it? TRESS?
Yes. And what would be eustress?
Eustress is actually the opposite of distress. Distress, if we're distressed, I'd say that has a negative effect on the nervous system when we're in distress, because we're dysregulated in our nervous system. But then with eustress, that's a more of a positive type of stress. It maybe motivate us. It motivates us to take action that,
yes,
to give us energy. That's how
yeah, that's it. Exactly. By the way, Angie, what's your contact information?
Oh, yes. It's Angie, ANGIE at Harmony, HARMONY, Harbor, HARBOR.com. And that's my website, harmonyharbor.com. And my number is 1-314-422-6520.
Okay. So what Angie just brought up about eustress or distress. So is our corporate executive, is it our solopreneurs, our stay-at-home mom going to experience one of those? The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're always under stress, always.
Yeah.
Blood pressure is stress. It's the stress placed on our heart, and our heart being conditioned and regulated to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if our heart isn't conditioned to handle it, the blood pressure goes up. It's unhealthy. So in the same way we have to regulate our stress for it to accelerate our performance. And how do we do that? Well, let's go back to our first responder example. When first responders experience a situation that would typically cause fear in the rest of us, what does it cause in them?
energy, adrenaline, like move into action.
They are moving towards.
Yeah.
The rest of us are moving away to hide,
Mm-hmm.
and they are moving towards. So, for our audience, I want you to think about a goal that you have, a dream, a desire that you want to turn into reality. And what's one of your biggest fears around it? What's one of the things that shuts you down? I'll be transparent. I've been dating for months now, was in an exclusive relationship, that things didn't work out. And then we tried it again and things did not work out. So now I'm back dating. And one of my biggest fears is rejection. Oh my gosh, on these dating sites, and you reach out to someone and they're like, "Hey, not interested." That hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would want to not put myself in a place of rejection. But then there's something else. If I go out on a date with someone and they're not a fit, now I got to reject.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that is so hard.
Yeah.
So I got fear around that. So I had to give that fear of rejection a different meaning. That instead of moving away, I had to move towards.
Mm-hmm.
So when the fear shows up, I say, I have to actually engage more. I have to actually use my voice more. I have to actually fail forward and fail faster, because I understand failure is simply pointing out that I'm missing something. I am missing a skill set. I am missing knowledge. I'm missing experience. That's all failure is. So the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, I had to give it a different meaning to get back out into the dating world and start making connections again.
So what do you say when the fear of rejection comes? You say, okay, instead of shying away from this fear of rejection, I'm going to move towards it and I'm going to engage more. So like, what is your actual pattern interrupt in your mind that you're telling yourself? What is it, Dawn? Like, what's the actual statement? Do you have an actual statement?
So it's not a pattern interrupt, it's a continuation. So there were two Harvard psychologists that actually proved fear and excitement are the same area of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply how we interpret it. So I imagine fear in the basement, and the excitement, the passion is at the highest level of the building. Okay. It's like a high rise, you got the best view. Okay. And so I'm just flipping a switch to go from the basement and maybe riding that elevator, riding that escalator, whatever it might be. And it takes me to the top immediately, because at the top, in the penthouse where the people are hanging out in the cool party, it means I need to get around more people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the basement in the dark, you can have people down there with you, but you can't see anybody. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the symbolism. Fear after the age of 18 months to 2 years, when we let go of the fears we're born with, which is the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. That's the only two fears we have. The rest of the fears we begin to learn around age 2. So I know my fear of rejection, of failure around that rejection, took place somewhere around there. Okay. I can't have a 2-year-old running my engagement program.
Right.
So I imagine then moving up to those higher levels and hanging out with cool people at the party. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And you do the switch thing. Remember how I remember you showed me the switch thing. So you're
got
doing
it.
that. You
Yes.
put yourself into a state of hypnosis, and then you imagine yourself leaving the fear basement, going up into the excitement penthouse. And yeah. Are you engaging when you go up to the penthouse? Are you engaging with people? Like, is it
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my
so
gosh. So like last night, I'm on 3 different dating sites. And
Mhm.
so last night, I'm in my mind, the really great party, and I need to connect with people. So I'm on those dating sites, reaching out and making those first connections with gentlemen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
But in your imagination, in your little hypnosis, your self hypnosis, when you go to the penthouse, do you see yourself interacting with gentlemen there? That's what I was
Yes.
wondering.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so both.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm doing the hypnosis is such a light state. I'm doing it while I'm engaging on the dating site.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So to apply this to a real life example for me, something that
Mhm.
I'm experiencing right now is, so I just taught a Heal Your Heart retreat last Saturday, and I had 7 women on there, and then I made an offer, which I think it's an amazing offer, and I was so excited about it, and so one person that day signed up for my 6-month program. That's what this is a promotion of.
Mhm.
But there's a part of me that, I don't know if it's disappointment avoidance, which is a real thing,
Yes,
a
it
fear of
is.
disappointment of, I put so much work into all of this, and you know, it's just not fair. Like, why is it so difficult? And so, like, I've made follow-up calls, but right now I still only have the one person signed up. So then my thought goes to, okay, I'm starting this program on November 7th. I need to have more than one person. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
this
Yeah,
cycle
I get
of
that.
wanting to control outcomes. And then as a result, then when I can't control, falling into that victim response, And
Mhm.
so like I could use something like this, the imagine the self-hypnosis.
Yeah. Yeah, because what we're talking about is learned helplessness.
Mhm,
And there are
mhm.
4 pieces to learned helplessness. Number 1, we take everything personal. We think it's about us. When actually we should be reaching out to those people and going, okay, what is it that you do need? What is
Right,
it that
right.
I can offer? And if it's not that, who do you know that you can share this offer with? Because the fortune is in the follow up. Okay.
Yeah.
So we make it personal, we make it pervasive once, because it's the amplification by realization. Oh, I have the disappointment in this area. What other areas can I be disappointed in? I'm going to start looking for that. And then after that, we begin to think it's permanent. And then the
Yeah.
4th P is power over, power under. The subconscious, which runs all of these programs for success or failure, does it based on symbols, as you and I know. It does not use language. And so the symbols we've got playing out in our mind are where we're very small and the problem is very large, looming over us. And
Mhm.
so that's the reason why I go to the penthouse. Because
Mm.
we've got to make ourselves larger, brighter, more colorful. There needs to be movement, there needs to be sound that makes us larger than what the problem is.
Mhm. I
And
like that.
all of
Yeah.
that is done in hypnosis, because hypnosis is not a trance state. Hypnosis simply means to be in a state of hypersuggestibility. And we are suggestible every time we have a feeling.
Yeah.
So when we have a fear, we're suggestible. What suggestions are we delivering? I'm using that fear as energy to get me up to the penthouse as quick as possible. Because here's something else, at least for the men I hang out with, they got to afford to be in that penthouse. Yeah, they got to have the energy. They've got to be the type of people that would be invited to that party. So then it tells my subconscious, when I'm looking through, who might I want to respond to on these dating sites? Who might I want to engage with first? I'm looking for the type of guy that would be invited to that party.
Right. And I love
Mhm.
what you said as a good reminder for people that when we have a fear, we are suggestible. We can either go one way or the other. I think that's a huge point
Yeah.
on how to convert this stress into success,
Yeah. The eustress.
Right.
So the stress isn't distress. It isn't eustress until we determine what it's going to be. And the more we condition ourselves in times of suggestibility to say, hey, I realize I'm stressed. How am I going to now use this to amplify and accelerate my performance? then that will have us running into what maybe we've been running away from. Now, dealing with the fear, there are also two other levels to this, as far as you make friends with fear, and then understand that failure is simply showing you where your values are not being fulfilled. And then you look at the relationship you have with the thing that you've been afraid of, because it's actually been serving you in some way,
Right.
or else you wouldn't be doing it. So understanding that, and then that is the system that can move you into action for achievement, not just action to get away from something. Whew. So Angie,
Yeah.
as we begin to conclude, does stress actually equal success? What is it that you want our listeners to most know right now?
That we really are at choice. We're not victims. We really aren't. Even though it may feel like we're a victim, we're at choice. And so it's self-awareness. I mean, that's a big part of it. And that's the start of it. Let's say that's the start of it, it's only 20% of transformation. I think that's the right number. So being self-aware so that we can then flip that switch and go from, is this really that big of a problem? And how can I see this in a different way? How can I convert this energy? Because it's energy.
Yes.
And it's stress energy. How can I convert that from distress to eustress? And for my benefit, like any negative can be turned into a positive. One last thing I had a thought about is that some people, that if we've been traumatized by something, we're afraid to feel good. There's a fear of actually being in a good feeling state. Like, we avoid that.
We're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. Something's going to screw it up.
And it's not safe in our nervous system to allow ourselves to go to that feel good state. So I think, again, awareness, number one, if we can become aware of that, then to start to increase our nervous system regulation, we could just comfort ourselves and just say, okay, let me breathe through this. Let me see what it would feel like to feel safe, feeling good right now. And then start to expand that, like you said, over time.
Yes. Because the statistics are that when you've experienced something 20 times or more, you're not familiar with it. And we have a preference for the familiar. So that means we will have a preference for those distress states. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So now we have to convert the distress to eustress, but we know that it's going to take 20 times of doing that before we become familiar with the fact that it's okay to feel good. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that the very thing that was scaring you, you have to put yourself in that experience as quick as possible, as much as possible, to hit your 20 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can go on 20 dates before I begin to feel comfortable. Oh my gosh, if I'm doing 1 date a week, that's a half a year. So,
yeah.
So what have I done? I've actually stacked them. I got a morning coffee, I got breakfast, I got lunch, I got dinner. I have done 4 dates in 1 day.
So on that question, could you imagine this, Dawn? You don't necessarily have to go on the date, do you?
Yes, you do. You have to have an immersion. So you have to put yourself, you cannot think your way out of a fear state. So you can train a first responder to do all the visualizations that they're going to handle the event, but you actually have to have immersion in the event itself before your system will completely regulate the way it should.
What do they always say? A person imagines it. There's also the subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality.
Yes, that is true. But if we continue to just imagine Instead of seeking out the experience, we're
Mhm.
telling the subconscious that we can stay in a fantasy state and be okay.
Mm. Mhm.
So we can have kids playing games online with other kids that have great social skills, put them in an environment at school where they actually have to engage with other people, and they don't know how to do it if they don't have a game controller in their hands.
Good point.
Okay. So expansion of the unit, we can do it internally, but because the subconscious says everything must have physical expression, if we're not taking it to the physical realm, we're short circuiting what needs to be happen because it goes mental, emotional, and physical. And the subconscious always seeks to manifest physical, but it'll manifest avoidance through fantasy or amplification through immersion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Avoidance through fantasy, immersion through amplification.
Or amplification through immersion.
I'm sorry.
The very thing we fear we have to move into. So this is what I want to take on, what I want you to know, everybody. I'm going to take on to what Angie said, awareness. The simple act of awareness, consciousness, brings stress. As soon as you become aware, you are going to be more stressed because you're realizing that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And so what do you fill that gap with? Well, we were taught in school, fill it with hard work, fill it with time, and fill it with hard work. Instead of how, I want you to fill that gap with who. Who do you need to be to regulate the stress and turn it into eustress? Because the who, the identity, always shows up before the how. If you continue to use your old identity, you'll continue to get what you've always gotten. There's a part of you that's ready to be developed to make all of this happen. But that is going to be an upgraded focus, feelings, and actions. And that's what we can do through hypnosis. So I'm going to give my contact information in just a moment. Angie, give yours one more time, please.
It's Angie at harmonyharbor.com. And it's harmonyharbor.com. And my number is 1314-422-6520. DawnLandrum.com. Can go there and get a free hypnosis audio. It's not going to get you resolution of what you got going on, but it will get you some relief for right now. So you've got a free hypnosis audio that you can do. You can also sign up for a complimentary coaching call with me to where we can talk and customize more of this for you. And then you can decide if I'm in a good fit to move forward, or you can reach out to me 1-636-699-7791, 1-636-699-7791. Angie, thank you so much as one of my favorite hypnotists for joining us. Yes. Thank you. Can I throw out one more thing? I didn't realize.
Yes, of course.
November 1, I'm having a free event and it's out on my website under the event tab. It's 3 secrets to survive the difficult life transitions. So women going through grief, loss, divorce, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you can register and it's for free.
Oh, there you go. I highly recommend Angie. I do.
Thank you. Okay. And I highly recommend Dawn.
All right. So goddesses, go out and know that you're going to experience the stress. It's not going to go away. The more successful you are, the more it's going to increase. So take these beginning tips, tools, and techniques. Start the journey of turning your distress into eustress, and then reach out because you cannot do it by yourself. If you could, you'd already have the success you're looking for. So whether it's Angie, whether it's myself, ask an authority figure for them to transfer the power to do this over to you. We believe in you. Blessings on your journey.
Thank you.